punishment, aren't you?
In higher realms, thoughts are things. It makes nothing with a stage, stoical, physical thing. It is the thought that generates the thing, as you will soon learn. And to graduate off this planet, you've got to learn to control your thoughts, because you're going to a place where universal thought is being applied, and if you misapply it, you will not be able to stay there. That's why you're going to the teaching kindergarten now. When you graduate where thoughts are things, you must have combined thoughts, or else you're out of uniform. The uniform of soul badgering, where your soul has earned merit badges for learning the hard way. That is a reward, but right now, you've got to earn that degree. The degree of having spent time on earth and come through it not unscathed, but much more stronger in your soul progression, able to now teach others. Because when you go through a course on earth, you've gone through it.
This video is for educational purposes only.
Zygotes are female when formed. I repeat, all original zygotes are female when formed. They later change. Usually after 6 to 8 weeks, the male fetus starts to secrete testosterone, otherwise it would remain a female. All males start off life as a female in the womb, presently in this moon cycle. Sometimes a small quantity of testosterone is secreted, just enough to make testes form on the developing embryo, but not enough to utilize proper brain chemistry and pituitary gland balance, and indigenous homosexuality is produced. What did he say? What did he say? You don't want me to repeat that? I know you don't want to hear that again. Yeah, you do. I knew it. Just gluttons for punishment, aren't you? Just like going to the MDs, some of them. Sometimes a small quantity of testosterone is secreted, just enough to make testes form on the developing embryo, but not enough to utilize proper brain chemistry and pituitary gland balance, and indigenous homosexuality is produced. If you have a soul, you've got to understand you cannot die. Now, if you have a soul, you can change forms. That soul can go into different things again. But you're not going to go. You're going to be somewhere with the Creator, and you'll have your chance to get back at those who hurt you, or to even pity those who hurt you because they were so fearful and disrespectful because they were not you. Like I say, eggborns don't have souls. Consequently, they already know that they're limited. We are limitless. We're here for an experience, and we're here because we needed to be here. Nobody's here. Either they did not volunteer because they couldn't progress until their whole race that they were with progressed, or they were here to learn. The karma dharma. People hear about karma. The just action based on what you've done, you will pay for. But how many people hear about dharma? That once you awaken mentally and spiritually, you only have to go through it one more time on the physical plane to prove that you now understand, then you can move on. This is the classroom. It's one of the lower classrooms, but it's the best way to understand physical reality. It profits now the knell of the death bell. For it means that if our planet can take in new energy, and if the electromagnetic field or frequency barrier can be altered so that higher frequencies can come in, and that pineal gland kicks in, then you will be once again in tune with your planet. And mankind, having no soul, having only the ability to report to the Lord God Master, will go crazy and begin to dysfunction and do crazy things. Human, who is part of both, will begin to question and try to follow its higher source, and the whole thing will lead to tremendous wars or tremendous conflagrations. The war will last no time if the sons of God can awaken to who they are. Because once they get in tune with the planetary head, the planet will do whatever they as a unit ask for. That is what some of the Yoruba people understood, what the magicians understand, and in a small way try once more to get in frequency with the slower heavens just above where they live, or on their continent, or the elemental kingdom can obey. It was meant that the sons of God, being of the seed of angels, didn't have to even do that. They could summon, They could call forth, they could put aside. But before any of that could be done, they had to first come into the consciousness and frequency of who they were. Again, I kind of repeat what I said when I was here before. This summer, you will hear, and starting this summer, probably for the next 3 years, about the sunspot activity being on the increase. You'll begin to hear more again about solar activity, prominences, all types of energy from the sun that will be very harmful. You'll hear about ultraviolet light burning tissue and melanomas and carcinomas affecting the blood and the skin of people on earth. For the sons of God who have an active pineal, that will be a day of blessing, for it will not affect you. You will not be burned, you will simply darken, and the melanin growing, it's almost like a vicious cycle to make you more and more powerful. As they get cancers of the skin and glands, you will get glands beginning to awaken and throwing out the frequencies that are not good and reconnecting the DNA molecules that were separated. One time, don't you understand that? Understand, folks, that as things are going now, you are being given decision-making. Understand that? Understand, folks, that as things are going now, you are being given decision-making time. You can waste your time with politics. You can waste your time with soap operas. You can waste your time worrying when they're coming from you, or you can begin to act ahead of time and bring in the very forces that can change all of this, give you the politicians you want, if you want politics, give you the body you want to stand against the radiation if you want it, give you the mental ability to fight some of the sublimination that they're constantly beaming at you, and they're bringing back, and you know this, all of the old magic once more. You see, magic is only misunderstood science. They're bringing back the very things that can help you to stand up against a tyrant. Not with machine guns. They make them better than you ever could and mask them better than you ever could. But there are things that can stop them from even trying to pull the machine gun. There are things that can stop them from even breathing to be able to think of making machine guns. But as long as you are amongst them and you don't know who you are, you give them power.
If you're a male, when the male child is around you, if you're a female, when the female child is around you, you'll experience a strange buzzing in your right ear. And sometimes after they leave, you will think a bee is around, and you know a bee can't be around in the dead of winter. They are there to unlock certain powers within you, and when they're beginning to unlock, it's like a set that comes on, but the picture or the sound is not clear. So you get a little buzzing, and you whip at it. You'll see people doing this a lot. You watch, especially black people, and there'll be nothing around, and people will say they're crazy. They are not crazy. They are finally awakening. That energy that spirals in when the pineal was working will sometimes let you see flashes before your eyes. You see things flash and you're not quite sure whether it's a TV set, are you going crazy, or is something happening to you. You are awakening. When you hear it on your left ear, clear it up. There's problems. You should hear it on your right ear first, and then it should entrain and go around your head. When you do that, you will find that you can begin to remember things that you thought you forgot. Sounds will begin to come in your ear, and I'm saying S-O-N-G-S, that you might not have heard since the 40s, 50s, or 60s, depending on how old you are. The powers are fighting for you. You must...
Above electricity and magnetism is what is called orgone energy. Now, those are bad words. You don't want to say orgone out here to this government and research scientists, because orgone means original. It's organic. It's orgasm. It's organic. It's organic people. And of course, they refer to those kind of people as original people. And what the last thing they want you to understand is who the original people are, and why the original people are, and where the original people are, and when the original people came. None of that will they teach you. But you do hear a word that's used a lot. It's called aboriginal. Never use that word aboriginal if you are indigenous to the planet. Why? Because it means to abhor the original person. Aboriginal means to abhor the original. To abhor means to hate, to envy, to covet, to dislike. Consequently, the word aboriginal means that you're you have a dislike for the original person. And the original person, of course, is a person with melanin. It's been proven so many times now that if necessary, I won't spend the time with an audience like you to go into that, but nevertheless.
How do dreams play in our physical life?
Well, dreams are the passage of time on the other time that is just as real when you're there as they are dreams when we're here. Dreaming is simply the mind at operation. I like to separate the two, that the mind is to the spirit as the brain is to the body. So when our brain goes in that REM state, and they say switches over to the right brain, the right brain you take as memories, you take as dreams that are happening. But it simply programs, there are some now really heavy in the metaphysics that say we're multidimensional. These are multidimensional existences that you reference to as your soul is living many lives at one time. And now as you understand quantum physics, hyperdimensional physics, it means that is possible. And I think on higher planes we live many lives and very quickly. Here we think one life is a long one, which is really short. So I would say dreams are only, and they're depending again on the depth of dreams. Some dreams are just things that you had on your mind. And if you went to bed hungry or you went to bed full or something, you dream of those things. But the dreams that have poignancy, or the dreams that you say can repeat over time, 3 days in a row, those are messages. Those are lives that you're living in a different way, bringing it back to the plane that we're on. And I'll say this and then I'll shut up. As our planet progresses into higher dimensions, the dreams will be shorter, but they'll be multiple, because there's many things now you want to figure out to clear your mind so that you can become a seventh unity vibrator, even to the seventh dimension. So stand on your head once a day. If you can't do it now, have somebody hold your feet up. Invert your position of your body for at least 3.5 minutes. If you get dizzy as soon as you start it for the first 30 days or 30 seconds, and then keep on trying, and if you don't do it but 5 seconds. If you could invert your body for 3.5 minutes a day, which gets away from this tremendous gravitational pull on this planet and all of the iron and poisons that are in the earth, and give you a chance to reverse those cell structures and let the blood, just like the river Nile, run backwards, you'd save yourselves a lot of problems.
Beginning to attack all these towers. You got 3 major ones in your city, and I don't know how many minor ones there's here. It's beginning to knock out these towers. It's beginning to knock these satellites that work on electricity. Everything that works on electricity holds you down. The planet is trying to free you up because it wants to free up itself. Right now, until you can get on a magnetic keel, you're holding back the progression of a planet. And the only reason the planet has not destroyed all of these towers and all the people on that vibration is because many of you who are good souls, who have souls, are not ready. And when it kills your enemy or dislodges its enemy, it's going to kill you too. So it's saying, wake up. What I'm saying is not only Galactic Showdown, but a subtitle is, and many of you got that on the email, Wake Up Sheeple Before It's Too Late. Wake up Sheeple before it's too late. There's still time. Sheeple is a cross between a person and sheep. Either sheep is slaughtered, they'll follow. Tell a sheep anything, it will follow. It follows the Judas stuff, and we still are sheeple. Because until you can understand that you are not a sheep and not asleep, you will be. Until you understand you are people and not animals, you will act like animals and be led to slaughter. But when you awaken, you will find that your bodies, with you in it, operate differently because you have a pineal gland and a locked-in soul. To exude soul power, you have to use concentrated thought. You have to raise your vibrational rate. You have to stop eating all of the animals and all the now terminated seeds, or to the best of your kind, try to do what you can to eliminate the bad results of eating them if that's all the food you can get. That can be done too. If the sun is hot, what is it that, what is now, as I understand that where I come from in Chicago, beginning to attack all these towers. You got 3 major
rocking and rolling. There are all kind of seiches on freshwater inland ports, big waves that roll from lake to lake. There are all kind of whirlpools and tidal waves on the oceanics. and the oceanic islands are being besieged with them. Watch very closely what's going to be happening there at Haiti, by the way, too. And in Cuba in 1997, remember you heard it here, rocking and rolling. People who dream in black and white are on the verge of ascending. People who dream in color and remember the dreams and have dreams that come in threes are prophets. And as it moves up again, they can begin to awaken and come outside of your body, look down upon your body, and see that you are more than the body because you never were human. You were simply encased in human and locked in by the frequency barrier, and you didn't know who you were. Trapped on a planet who you didn't even come from, or only here for a lesson, the lesson has got to go on and on and on infinitum. Even the planet is getting tired of that now, and is changing the frequency. What we are about the business now is awakening. The Old Testament said, and the ancient Hebrews said, that menstruation was unclean, and that a woman should be confined until cleansed of her issue. But understand again, a lot of that book was tampered with by a patriarchal society, and if you're not aware of that, and I think most of you should be, then we have a lot of interaction that we could go through. With the advent of monogamy, and now I'm thinking about Africa, monogamy, by what we would call the Christian forefathers who wanted their church to really flourish, came the taught, learned sensation that menstruation was correct, menstruation was necessary, and was the woman's paying for her sins for having made Adam eat the apple and now must also bear her child in pain and affliction. And many of you bought that, didn't you? I state to you that menstruation is not a cleansing process. It is only the result of the deterioration of the egg, unfertilized, and that men have perpetuated a myth that women collectively have bought. And there is the key to your problem and your problematic solution. You've bought into the coat's lie, the white coat's lie, the medical doctor's lie, which came about under a patriarchal system. If you start understanding the cadavers that were messed with in England and France at the turn of the 17th, 18th century, and experimentation still goes on. In fact, they, by law, are given under the caduceus the right to practice. And the practice is upon, in many cases, you as females. From 1990 on now, you're getting crystal children being born. Whole new breed. They come out the birth canal with their eyes open. The spine is erect. They are psychically tuning to the mother. She's carrying first, second, and third trimesters. They'll read you like a book. Animals obey them, fish obey them, even insects will obey them if you have a strong enough field. These are the children now that are here, these old souls back here that aren't going to take the foolishness. And if you notice again too, it's a very, I don't want to go there on your show, but I would say this, there's an interesting headline from 1990 on now.
Marlon Wayans exposes one of their Illuminati.
Never educate a person you're going to dominate. That's a no-no. You train them. So we're trained to hold jobs. We're trained to be taught a certain way. We're not trained so that you can begin to create. And yet, blacks create everything you can think of. You go back through the list of inventions by a black, almost everything you find out there was invented by a black person. Never educate a person.
You will be mutating. Don't become frightened of mutation. Sometimes if everybody mutates, nobody notices. The first mutation will be of the soul progression, and your neuron centers will begin to clean up their act. That's why head colds will be the rule. That's why asthma will be the rule. Asthmatic conditions will be the rule as you try to clean off the mucus and burn it up. The more you use your brain, the faster it will be burned up, and the more you get the headaches, and the headaches will go away because you'll finally begin the frequency like you're supposed to. For those who can't, they will get sick of head diseases and die. For those who can't and are in the body, they'll get attacked by body diseases and die. Disease only means one thing: imbalance, out of order. To hold a charge and not be able to use that charge will cause that charge to burn up the wires. to burn up the connections. This is why you're moved now to do things probably you hadn't wanted to do before. Certain health foods, certain health drinks, herbals. You all wanted to go into the marijuana and stuff before because you know there was something that you could activate. And so rather than do it the hard way, you say, I'm going to just trip out real quick. Not understanding that in a lowered frequency, when you do that, you run into lower vibrations, which also are called to a planet with that, and into all kind of trouble, losing your mortal souls. We've all talked about that, but we didn't understand what we were saying. But to a clear head, who through the use of consciousness-raising drugs, now I'm not talking about now the street drugs, I'm not talking about barbiturates and influence and all this kind of thing. I'm talking about the wushis and the fotis and the ginsengs and the things that can tremendously raise your vibrational rate. The pineal gland then begins to activate and not die up and dry up. It activates. And there has been...
Everybody on earth that has a soul sleeps. Unless you're very refined, and even then you may sleep at least once a month. Sleep merely means that your body can no longer hold the soul because it's run out of energy. And the body becomes so despicably horrible to the soul that until it cleans up itself, the soul leaves. So each night you die. You will die every 3 days, or you will die standing up. People go to sleep standing up. People had guard duty, just going to, they'll tell you what they, they're still there. But you have to go to sleep because the energy in your body is not strong enough to maintain you. So you have to get out so the body can renew itself. You as a soul go out and receive some energy, jump back into the body, and then you go. Now, if that is the case, then you have to ask, what trip did you take? Where did you go? What is the action, and what is the reaction? That is another whole case of study. But I simply say, it's my understanding, limited as it may be, that from roughly about 67 to 89, what they want to call indigo babies and souls were being born. The indigo children were those that had been killed, maimed, horribly slaughtered in wars, that were anxious to come back and get it on to do something about it. They came back to fight or flight. Flight meant they would take somebody else out with them, or they're going to fight. They came back to get it off. What did they do? The draconic souls who operate on a higher frequency in the main, the fourth dimension, knew this was going to happen. So they set traps for those souls. And when they came in, and they knew they were here to fight them, they made them think they're supposed to fight an enemy over in Vietnam, an enemy over in Korea, an enemy in the Persian Gulf. Give them false analogies as to reasons for that to happen. And then they went off and they did what they wanted to fight. But they did not fight their enemy. They fight somebody that their enemy told them to go fight. Never realizing the mistake they'd made. And then, and I know people, a lot of the hip-hop guys will get pissed at this, I'm sorry. They even fought the air. You're talking back. Sure, when you have venom and unqualified channel energy release, you do it that way. But what are you doing? You're fighting the spirits of the air around you, the sylphs. You're fighting your own inner consciousness. You're fighting your own animal instinct and the animal brain that they put these on these bodies. What are you fighting? Why are you so angry? Directed anger can be much better used than through physical uses of it. That's what you call focused thought, whether it be for good or bad, it still works. But that way, they then put them in uniforms, put them there all one, go fight a common enemy. The enemy was unseen, but they gave you a mortal enemy to fight. Now, that's past now. Because you see, you had those from those other empires being born into different bodies, and they had told the same thing. So then they had you fighting each other like children under reptilian control, and that's what we were. Now, you're having crystals being born. Whole different ball game now. The planet is going to higher frequency. So now these crystals can come in. They weren't fixing to come back in then because they're advanced souls. Now with these crystals, they're born with eyes wide open, with spines erect. They're born with knowledge and understanding and wisdom. They can work with animals and insects. They can work with vibrations of the air. They can work with fire, water, all the elements. And they can even work with the mothers while in the womb and the fathers out of the womb. They are a very advanced type of people. They're not here with hate. They're here to understand what makes for hate and how to change it to love. These are the children now will be given the energies and powers that we say we want, but don't qualify for by our very actions. What are they doing to them? Trying to give them 7 shots at birth, including hepatitis C, trying to give them booster shots, give them all the farming, pharmaceutical, PHARM, okay? 7,000 pharmaceutical things in the Merck's Index, United States Depository of Pharmaceutical Medicine. Give them all these drugs to lower their vibration, and even still give them half a chance. Their metabolism is such they will still try to get rid of those drugs. What it's doing is slowing down the inevitable. The planet is going upward. These souls are coming in are already in higher vibration. They will either help, or when they come together and really hinder, you haven't seen death and destruction yet. Not that they're killers, but they will bring forth through them the consciousness of higher authority, which will not set. You can't live 1 minute when this planet is going to the fifth dimension and you hold an evil thought. You automatically killed yourself or allow that to come in at will. So it's a change now in matter, in time, and in space. It's a change in consciousness, a change in subconsciousness, and a change in ultra consciousness. It means
I just want to come on here and say that.
Or there are many people now that are called star seeds and walk-ins and crystals. Same metaphors in general. A star seed means that they came from a distant star system here for this purpose at this time because they could get brownie points, maybe even get some yellow and whitey points, I don't know. But it means that they could also gain some wisdom and help by virtue of helping a planet which is going to become one of the most heralded, talked about planets in all the universes. And I'm choosing my words carefully. And it's now called what you call, what planet are you on? Earth. You know Earth has many names. One of the old Earth names was Saros, which means sorrows, sorrowful. Another was Terrestres. And of course you now have on this planet interterrestrials, terrestrials, and extraterrestrials. You knew that though, didn't you? Also, Gaia. That's when you give the feminine gender to the spectrum. This is what the brother who just left, your brother Kai was telling you about. Lady Gaia is a female expression, which she was a female expression before, and now she can express herself truly as she should be, and you can be part of it. That's why the feminine aspect is being reunited now, because your planet is a feminine gender. And she's given birth to more than she knew. She's even given birth to abnormals and everything else, but her penance is paid, and for that, she's getting double promoted.
They did it in 78, 79, they did it in 83, 84, and who knows how many other times that I have not been able to document through extensive research. We heard that the American Legion, legionnaires, were meeting in a hotel in Philadelphia. And all of a sudden, through the ductwork again, either induced by some accident or otherwise, Legionnaire's disease popped up. But before that time, you heard about, what do they call this? I'm not referring to my notes now. I'm doing this all from my mental capability, which sometimes gets limited. They had, again, simplex, herpes. Herpes 1, herpes 2, herpes 3, herpes simplex, and then you didn't hear anything more, but you heard about Legionnaires. Then you didn't hear anything more after about 8.5 months about Legionnaires. You heard about AIDS. And of course, there's no tie-in. There's nothing showing, again, why the yeast infection of Candidiasis and Candida now suddenly is gone crazy within the system. And by the way, I'm going to give you possible remedies and helpers for these things. I can't say cure, because nowadays to say cure, you over-infractionalize, you step into the world of the allopaths. So I can say possibly things that may help, or remedies for these things. But suddenly now, the government cannot control, the FDA cannot control. We're just full of all kind of plagues and viruses by which the immune system, the shots we used to get, don't seem to be as effective as they used to be. The treatments that we used to have don't seem to be making inroads against these new viruses. I simply say if they're laboratory designed, and I think they are from research, if they're asked for, paid for, and then delivered, then they're specifically made genetically to do exactly what they're doing to the people that they're doing it to. The only trouble is we always seem to mistake the Creator because these people are soulless and spiritless and don't understand what the Creator can do because they think that they're gods. So as a consequence, we're going to have to pay for that, and they are too. They're going to have to find out that they're not God, and that the very things that they create in their power struggle and their power-hungry mentalities can come back against them, which is doing now in the United States, and will continue until they change. And since I think they're so nefarious they won't change, and we're in for it. Let me again just read you part of an article here. It says, "O new plagues, a Latin scourge." It's not just a Latino scourge, it is now a United States scourge. I'm going to just briefly jump through this. Brazil, it starts with a fever like 100 less deadly plagues. Then comes a growing weakness. The skin turns yellow. In the abdomen, internal bleeding begins. Soon blood pours from the body, through the eyes, and in the endless black vomit. In 9 out of 10 cases, the liver dissolves and the victim dies. No, it's not Ebola. It's Labria black fever. Just one of a half dozen deadly and little understood viral diseases emerging from the rainforest of Latin America. They were told that those rainforests are one of our chief ways of oxygenating the Western Hemisphere. They don't care. They needed more hotels. Half the hotels they have now are seasonal, and because of the typhoons and hurricanes, they're still losing tourists. But now you have to tear down some more. Let me go on with this one again to show if you could even look through this or what you would do given that kind of power. These power mad people don't seem to give a you-know-what. Let's go on with this again. People all the time are going into the jungle and coming back with strange fevers no one knows about, said Betsy Duary Thatcher, malaria specialist at Brazil's National Institute for Amazon Research in Manaus. If we started looking for them, we could isolate a new variety every week. A new variety every week. Viruses are the unknown frontier. I go on again. Perhaps never has a battle against disease looked so bleak as it does right now in Latin America and in the third world in general. New diseases are appearing at a frightening pace, researchers say. Even more disturbing, old scourges, once thought relegated to history, are making a comeback, particularly in Latin America. Tuberculosis is one of the things that they talk about. Malaria is another one that they talk about. We seem to cluster together in small patches and let the rest of the land go by, even
a birthmark in one understanding is that the female has the ability, or had the ability, it's now somewhat latent, to control cells under her mind or under mind control, and that certain markings at certain areas of the body show what brain was active, left or right brain, and also the area would show the area of influence. For instance, in many cases you will have boys with birthmarks on their right side above the waist, and then you'll have maybe on a few below the waist but on the left side. Whereas you'll find more girl markings in the center of the back or on the left side, and then in some cases below on the right side. In many cases, it's what the woman was frightened by, thought of, or in any way brought into picture. This is why women would see mice, and in many cases, especially before there was more stressful things other than seeing a mouse, and so you'd see a birthmark showing a resemblance of a face or a head or tail of a mouse. A woman would crave strawberries because of the acidic nature that was lacking in her system at that time, and a strawberry patch would be there. Many times, whatever she would see or think about became almost an imprint on that cell. As woman has gotten away from the mind control of that, the birthmarks have become more and more scattered. What is very interesting, there are some self-same birthmarks on different races and different genders within that race that have never even seen each other, but the patches are the same. That leads to something else entirely, which I refuse to get into at this discussion tonight.
Many females could save themselves a lot of physical problems by continuing what they did when they were very young girls, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, standing on your head either once a day or...
Sleep merely means that your body can no longer hold the soul because you shapeshift every night.
Successfully, this new energy through your pineals, through your melanin, your energy fields will attract more and more cosmic light. Let's put this another way. Our sun was nothing more than a step-down transformer. Some people call it, if you're into physics, a transducer. It is now a capacitor. It is a step-up transformer. Whereas at one time it filtered out great light and energy that came from deep space to our planet so that we could live under a sun. And you remember the saying, there's nothing new under a sun. And there isn't. In 59, it completely reversed its polarity, and now it is sending forth energy, augmented by the kind of what they call cosmic and gamma rays that are coming into it. This year, By this summer, you will begin to hear more and more about sunspot activity, solar prominences, perturbations, and how our sun is a deadly enemy about to annihilate us all because it is going to burn us up with X-rays and gamma rays. Not all of us. Not all of us. Some of us. And who are the us's? Whoever are the chosen. How are you chosen? You choose yourself. By following the disciplines you know you should have been doing, not tomorrow, but yesterday. By doing the readings and the research and taking the time to spend in meditation, the things you thought you should have done 5 years ago, you start them immediately tomorrow. By not being threatened or coerced, you do because of the goading mechanism within your own spiritual consciousness, that you know you should be doing as though a policeman was there or mother was looking, and you do better than both of those authoritarian figures because you are rising. Once you channel in that light, for every one of you, you're worth 1,000 of non-channelers because they're the dead. They will not awaken. You cannot wait for them. If you do not do that in mass, you will be subject to the technical prowess of a people who are soulless that now have control of this planet. And if you're ready to go up against them, I bless you. If you're ready to go up against them alone, I feel sorry for you. We will learn a lesson that will stay with you forever. You cannot match them in their technology. Forget it. What you knew subconsciously, and what you know even as you hear the tone and tenor of my voice is true, is that some way or another you could raise a spiritual quality that could match that in some kind of way. You just didn't know how to go about doing it. And you know that you had lost something and you wanted it returned. You have that privilege now. AIDS and every other man-made deceptive agent to stop you from progressing physically and cause your journey of life to end quickly will only be thwarted when you can raise your vibrational rates enough where none of those things can exist within that contact field. And then those that met it and made it will meet out its suffering and suffer the same thing that they started. The planet cannot help you till you vibrate high enough to take the light. It's just that simple. Other than that, you will be destroyed just like those that are trying to destroy your planet once again. How many don't understand what I just said? Raise your hands. Be honest. Oh, good. Most of you do. Let's try it from another angle. And I think I'm going to ask this question. How many do understand what I just said, but haven't made sure yet that they want to believe it, and so they're kind of marking time? But I think I might see some more pure hands. You know what I said, but let's try it again. Let's play with this a while. Let's break it down.
It's the light. It's the concept of light.
You may speak for many. I'm going to try and break it down. I would be not worth my purpose if I gave a lecture and nobody understood it. If you don't believe me, that's okay. But I want you to understand me. We live in a solar system that has a sun. That sun propagates everything on our planet. Most things on our planet that are in sequence with the Creator produce either photosynthesis or in some other way take light and convert it into usable energy. Not harmful X-rays, not anode cathode ray bombardment. You use light. To do so, you darken just like plants darken because you have melanin. That was a gift from the gods to the God being. A way of letting you use higher universal energy without it destroying your physical body and releasing you what you really are anyway, pure spirit, because you're not physical. Some of you still may doubt that. You're not physical. That's why you go to sleep each night. To renew that can't be renewed with food or a drink. You get out of the body, it charges up, you come back in the body, and you go through another work day. If you doubt it, ask yourself where you're going to go when you go to sleep tonight. And hurry up and get back from there, too. Because other people will be mourning you if you don't watch out. You must come out of that body, which makes you lose consciousness, and that's when the body is renewed. Then you break your fast in the mornings and proceed on another day. You eat breakfast, all right? Ask yourself tonight, if you're not fearful, trepidous or so, that when you go to sleep, you want to wake up and find out where you are. Just make that little agreement with yourself tonight, but use caution. You might do it. That's a test to find out how fearless you are. Say, I'm going to wake up tonight, not in some dream stupor and some collage in black and white or color, but I'm going to wake up when I go to sleep tonight and find out who I really am.
If you're a male, when the...
It's my understanding The souls that you now call children are probably older than you and have wisdom beyond yours, but they did not have a chance to prove it. When you don't have to fight an enemy, you can brag a lot. When you have to fight the battle, you must come off of the theory and put it into practice. They look for the practice here on the earth, one of the best planets to bring in physical reality to a norm. Those children have a lot to teach you, but they must first be made to unlock their reservoirs of regenerative energy, which we call psychic patterns, through what is called, again, reliving past lives, or through the birth canal when they talk directly to the carrier or mother, or through physical sight, which unlocks the little programs hidden in the subconscious of both, which we call the right brain. Not only will that make everybody more honest and more psychic, but will stop the entrance anymore of lower vibratory individuals, because those souls will respect coitus and understand that going along with it is a need for complete mind control of their own. If they are not allowed, since they are very harsh creatures, inasmuch as they did not understand lies and did not understand dualities, they will fight to the death to stop that from proliferating through them, and therefore they seek guidance. If the guidance comes from you, the parent, they will accept it. But as the melanin is stepped up, if you must go on in it, you can survive. The point is, again, it will begin to make your head feel as though it was almost wavering. And until you balance out that melanin and get the higher frequencies going, all it will do in some cases is to give headaches. Other cases to make you want to cover the head. But at night when you sleep, each night having been exposed to that, the melanin will go through a metamorphosis, and you will wake up with more insight as to who you are, and certain psychic abilities will begin to form within 48 hours after that exposure. If you adapt to it, the next time out, more happens. And then the DNA and the cells will begin to come together, just like a magnet, because magnetism is what it will awaken in your body. And then they'll begin to entwine the strands little by little. But as the